Apex Legends. The movement in this first-person shooter is one of the most iconic game mechanics ever. Those who have taken an interest in movement have found a home here. They have a place to satisfy this curious drive to move faster, jump higher, and traverse the map in any new way possible. Players were excited about this brand new battle royale, but little did they know that in time, a small group of enthusiasts would emerge and discover a secret technique that wasn't meant to be included in the game. One which could warp in-game physics and give players an opportunity to display their individuality. But wait, where did these movement techniques come from? Is it just part of the game? Or is there a different story behind the fascinating moves that have become an essential skill in this FPS game? Let's shed a little light on where the game-breaking movement in Apex has come from and how it's completely changed the expectations on FPS games for everyone. In previous games, it was all just game bugs and glitches, small side quests for fun and games. But nowadays, as long as it isn't exploitive, these game-breaking errors are accepted by FPS developers and communities alike. In Apex, the skill gap between new players and sweats is often knowing how to simply use these glitch-like movement techniques. Those of us who glitched out of the map in the past are now using any method possible to avoid getting hit by enemy gunfire. It can be the difference between winning and losing, eventually creating a unique and cult-like fandom of gamers known as movement players. This video is made possible in part with ASUS. ASUS is the ROG Falchion keyboard, has a bump on the W key, just like on the F and the J keys on the home row. That way you can keep your hand in the right place. Side panel is fully customizable. ASUS's mapping software allows every key to be changed to suit your needs, including disabling Alt F4, Alt Tab, or even that annoying Windows key. Perfect for gaming. There'll be a link in the description below. Thank you. Before we go into detail of how far we've come, we need to remember where we came from. Let's take a quick look at the history of first-person shooters. It all started with 007 GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. Released in 1997, the graphics were terrible, but we didn't know. This deathmatch style shooter was the first to do multiplayer right. This was the genesis of first-person shooters for me. Later on, I was introduced to Counter-Strike, where all you have is your gun, a grenade, and the ability to aim and shoot. A lot of these OG multiplayer FPS games focus heavily on gunplay. They were combat games, and they excelled in their own way. There were plenty of other genres of games out there focused primarily on movement. Ghost Runner, Mirror's Edge, or the better Spider-Man games, but movement alone can become monotonous very quickly. I played Assassin's Creed Origins because I found out you could go to Egypt and climb the pyramid. This is a game that's supposed to be based around parkour and movement, but once I got what I wanted out of the game, I saved it and I never logged back on. Right now, I'm literally still crouched up there on the largest pyramid. It just seemed like the same side quest over and over and over. This is the downside of games that only pay attention to movement and nothing else. On the other hand, games that are mainly focused on combat and gun skill, like PUBG, Call of Duty, they can become slow and repetitive. Those of us that have experienced high-speed gunfights jump back into Call of Duty, and it feels like you're walking around in glue. They struggle to hold your attention for years and years to come. That's probably why Call of Duty has a new game every single year. As gamers, we're all looking for high-pace encounters, where precision decision-making in every single moment decides whether you win or lose. That's why the magic of mastering both combat mechanics and movement is what makes some games just better. And that's what makes games like Apex so captivating. There's just so many legend abilities that give a movement advantage, whether that's grappling to get into a close-range fight, taking your team to a high ground using a zipline, Horizon lifting the squad above any danger, or Octane getting a massive speed boost and using it to dodge gunfire. Everything about the baked-in movement just feels great. And then when it comes to weaponry, the gun selection is truly distinctive. Each weapon has its own purpose with a different use case depending on your encounter. Add that to the game's high time to kill, and you can actually move around without dying if only 3 bullets hit you. But even the combat and the game physics that the developers have designed has fallen short. The movement player base is fond of something different, something so substantial, which is prevalent in almost every game, yet the players themselves could be the only ones to discover it. There's always a following for this aspect of games because it wasn't introduced with the game. It was brought to light later once the players got their hands on it. We have to take a look back in gaming history at one of the most celebrated first-person shooters ever, Halo 2. Growing up, I loved this game, man. My brother and I both shared a room. We both had our own TV, our own Xbox, and our own Xbox Live accounts. Back then, Halo was the first game I pulled all-nighters for all the time. I spent the whole summer putting in thousands of hours. Also, I could say that I was level 50. My brother was really focused on the campaign, and I was on multiplayer. This loading screen is pure nostalgia. It's an ode to my childhood, man. Back then, the only mechanic for movement was jump. So the sweatiest move in Halo was jumping up off of a sniper tower, busting a 360, and no-scoping somebody right in the dome piece. And I was the king of them. I always kept my eye on the sniper spawn. I knew exactly when it would spawn. The battle rifle was my go-to weapon. Back then, there were two distinct events that changed the way I look at games forever. Within the game, there were anomalies. Let's talk about a weapon from Halo that we all know, we all remember, the energy sword. It had this unique ability that no other weapon had. When you swung the sword, it caused you to lunge forward. Movement. The first abnormality was one that no developer knew when the game was released. Someone figured out that if you lunged forward and press X right before you hit the enemy with your sword, it wouldn't do any damage and it would cause you to stop face to face with the other player. This was coined sword canceling. So the strat was, my brother would stand on my head and spam jump. At the same time, I would spam sword cancel while looking up, and it would cause both players to infinitely rise into the air. We would use this to get on top and outside of the map. This became a game within the game, and the goal was to get up as high as physically possible. It legit felt like we were standing outside of the universe, looking back down at the world below like gods. It truly gave me this sense of freedom and exploration that my 12-year-old brain had never felt before. The edge of the map went on forever in every single direction. It was glorious. We had really done something that broke the game. It wasn't supposed to happen, and yet we had done it. We discovered glitches. Halo 2 was full of them. I googled glitches in Halo 2 more than any other kid in the entire history of the game. There was sword canceling, sword flying, BXR, rocket jumping, grenade jumping. But the second glitch that changed me forever was the super jump. Out of all the glitches available, super jumping was the greatest amusement of all. How it worked and why it worked was an adventure within itself. Did anyone else know about this? Was it even allowed in the game at all? The super jump was the very first movement tech I had ever performed in my entire life. It was part of the game. The developers didn't intend it, and yet it's there. It had become one of the best aspects of the gameplay. There wasn't any way to perform a super jump mid-fight. It took quite a few steps to activate it, so it was more of a novelty to escape the map and traverse the outer world rather than to use it against other players. Coming back to the present day, in this era, if you can get outside the map, devs will add Easter eggs for you to find, almost like an homage to those memorable Halo days.
You had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me.
Apex Legends. Originating from the Titanfall universe, Apex is a movement-heavy game. Although the developers didn't bring wall running over, it has a plethora of similarities as its predecessor. Apex has earned its title as one of the greatest movement games ever. The community has quite literally named its best movement players movement gods, and new techniques are constantly being discovered and shared amongst the initiated. We treat these unintentional glitch-like mechanics with great respect. We want to move faster, jump higher, and use the ability to strafe, lurch, b-hop, wall bounce, anything we need to avoid controller players. To avoid other enemy players. Yep, we're all learning how to gain any advantage we can so we can win a gunfight, and movement has become just as important as aim, positioning, or game sense. Apex players weren't the first to make the major discoveries within the movement community. It all started on the frontier of the Titanfall universe. The techniques at your disposal include wall running, a grapple hook, a double jump, and the standard slide. A lot of these techniques, which were designed with Titanfall, have actually made their way into Apex. However, it's the movement discoveries that the player base has made which have changed both games forever. Some of the techniques are simple. You got the air strafe, the b-hop, and the slide jump. Others are a little less intuitive, such as the edge boost, wall kicks, the lurch strafe, and the most coveted tech of all, the tap strafe. Titanfall has a very dedicated speedrunning community. They are constantly looking to cut time in any way, shape, or form to complete the game faster than anyone else. Using grenades to boost themselves forward, they scientifically utilize wall running, double jumping and bee hopping as if they're in a laboratory to get the precise formula just right and finish the game faster and faster. As a reference, even in Octane's lore, he blew his legs off with a grenade so he could frag boost and break the world record at the gauntlet. Likewise, the speedrunners are always looking for new ways to quite literally cut corners, and thus tap strafing was born from this desire. To tap strafe in Titanfall 2, you would literally tap forward several times as you can't bind W onto the scroll wheel like you do in Apex. And just like in Apex, you can implement a tap strafe after a double jump, after sliding, or upon disengaging from a wall bounce. The exact person who discovered tap strafe is sort of a mystery, but it was brought to popularity by a competitive Titanfall player named Regnos. The tap strafe of Titanfall also gave mouse and keyboard players a distinct advantage over controller players, which is a story still true in the outlands of Apex. In order to keep up with the times, we owe a lot of respect to these early movement gods who paved the way so that movement could evolve as much as it has in the Apex universe. As Titanfall players became Apex Legends players, they quickly learned that a lot of the mechanics previously used for a speed advantage could translate into high-octane movement to avoid enemies in gunfights. While speedrunning held the focus of movement, Apex allowed for the quintessential combination of gunplay and movement. The players who specialize in gun skill will be outperformed by movement, and the players who solely work on their movement will be outshined by anyone who has mastered their aim. And controller players will shit on everyone. Throw in the battle royale genre and you get one of the greatest FPS games of all time. The movement in gaming has come a long way, and Apex has some of the most advanced techniques out of any first-person shooter that I've ever played. Once you have a taste of injecting an octane stim and super gliding into a battlefield with a peacekeeper, strafing at 100 miles per hour and hitting multiple 100 pumps, going back to Call of Duty, performing a simple slide cancel lacks any potential of meeting my adrenaline needs. The funnest players to watch are all performing high-level movement tech and subsequently aim like masters of the universe. Although typically we all trend toward one or the other, but you and I know where we stand. Movement reigns supreme. Movement in video games has a special place in my heart. It's a niche within a niche that has captured my attention and cultivated a whole new generation of players who have the potential to style on their opponents in ways never seen before. While most players are just playing the game as it was intended, movement players just do it differently. Originating from glitches in the game, some movement that revolutionized Apex has now been recognized by developers as a crucial part of the game. We have even seen a wall bounce performed in a recent gameplay trailer for Apex Season 17. That's huge. Either way, devs have quietly confirmed that they are okay with controller players using tap strafe by allowing them to use Steam configs, and that balance will hopefully prevent them from removing it for everybody. It's the most controversial movement mechanic of all time. I would have never fallen in love with Apex if it wasn't for the tap strafe and other movement tech. Probably wouldn't have even found Apex if it didn't remind me of those old school Halo days. This very small niche has become a home for so many. Just as Asmongold says, a game should be so good that you're willing to do nothing but play the game. And Apex movement has done exactly that. Just like Titanfall, every once in a while a new movement tech will completely shake up the community. And hopefully, when stuff like that happens, new people will catch a glimpse of the intricate history behind the game mechanic known as movement. Thank you for watching, guys. I made this video as my very first video essay. It's something very new. So let me know what you think. Give me some feedback, whether good or bad. I'm interested to learn more so I can make better videos. But this style of video is definitely something I'm interested in. Hopefully you guys like it. I appreciate y'all a lot. So thank you. And I'll catch y'all later. Peace.